Girl, in honor of our guest, we have in the studio with us a presidential aspirant from Liberia. She's also the founder of the MacDella Cooper Foundation, and we are going to be having a fantastic conversation. Let me introduce to you Lagos MacDella Cooper. She's a philanthropist and the founder of the MacDella Cooper Foundation, an organization dedicated to improving the lives of children and women in Liberia. A little bit about her background. Now, she began her professional career as a fashion model and planner, working extensively in the fashion capitals of the world, New York City, Paris, London, and Milan. In 2003, she launched the MacDella Cooper Foundation, a nonprofit working in service of underprivileged children and women in Liberia. Now, in December 2010, the MacDella Cooper Foundation opened the first school in Liberia to offer free tuition, including room and board. Sometime last year, she announced her intention to run for president of Liberia in the upcoming 2017 elections. If successful, she would become the continent's fourth elected female head of state. And given the work that her foundation does and the work she's been personally involved in a number of years, many of the tenets of her campaign surround improving educational and economic outcomes for children. And noting Liberia's large youth population, she's looking at free childhood education, universal health care, growth of the national electric grid, and decentralization in and around land ownership. In the studio with us, we have MacDella Cooper. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's so great to be here.
I hope the Lagos rains did not overwhelm you.
Oh no, I love it.
You love
it? I sleep very well, actually.
All right, so we'll be talking about a few issues: women in politics, why she's decided to get involved into politics, what she's offering to Liberians, and what she thinks Liberia can learn from Nigeria, and what Nigeria can also learn from Liberia as well. So looking at your background, I found out that you and your brothers, two of them, were actually refugees. You had to leave Liberia around the time that the Civil War broke out. And looking at some of the interviews you've done, I found that that informed a large percentage of some of the work you now do and some of the things that you hold near and dear to you. So getting involved in politics almost seems like a natural progression.
Absolutely.
Someone wanting to do something that prevents something like that from happening again.
Absolutely.
That's my guess.
Yes.
But tell us, why have you chosen to get involved in politics?
Well, philanthropists are people who step in and try to fill in the gap where government fails. We in Liberia we have a 4.2 million people, about 85% underemployment rate, meaning 85% people are now officially employed. They still have means of survival, but there's not, regular employment. So they're not getting consistent salaries. So when you look at the spectrum, after the war in Liberia, after the peace agreement, there are still so many young people who are not being reached by resources, government resources. And so I came in as a young woman then, not so young anymore, but when I came in then to try to step in and rescue those children and those women who were not being reached by social services. And so we try to educate as many young people. After doing that for so many years, I saw the need to take this across the board. Because after putting a few hundred kids in school, after sending a few hundred young people to college and universities, and helping a few women groups and helping some mothers take care of their families, I saw the need to do this across the board. And so I know from Politics 101, it's government responsibility to provide the highest quality of life for its citizens, providing access to education, healthcare. That is not an individual responsibility. No philanthropist can educate an entire country. No one philanthropist can provide access to healthcare for the entire country. That's government's responsibility. And so I felt the need to step into government and leadership to see to it that everything I have been trying to do for the Liberian people over the past 15 years goes across the board to all 15 counties and all maybe 4.2 million people.
Fantastic.
And you said that you're trying to step into where you feel the government has failed. I'm just looking at such areas now. So what do you plan to do differently from what is presently going on?
Well, a lot of our national budget is going towards the salary for a handful of government officials.
That sounds familiar.
And that's not a way to sustain the country. We are currently majorly depending on foreign aid. Liberia is one of the wealthiest countries in the region. If we manage our resources well, if we invest in alternative industries, we will have enough to take care of the needs of our people by redirecting from, right? That's one thing I want to do differently. repurposing funds. Funds that have come in over the past few years for education should go to education. Funds that come in for healthcare should go to healthcare. And that's one thing I want to do. And I've done that already through my philanthropic initiatives. And so it's no stranger to me that once funds are earmarked for a specific item, that item should be developed or funded.
Now, you are a woman in politics, but Liberia has led the way with the president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And if you were to win, you'd be the 4th female head of state for the African continent. Coming up and opening up and telling people that you also want to enter politics and you're aspiring to the highest office in your land, what was the feedback? What was the resultant reaction that you got? Because you also did start as a model, going into fashion planning, and you have a situation, particularly here on the African continent, where you do have many countries where the idea that a woman being president is so shocking, but for Liberia, that has been broken. That jinx and that thinking has been broken, and President Johnson's Sirleaf has opened that door. But was she one in a million? Do you think it can be repeated? Because for sometimes people believe that when you let one woman do it, leave it. You have to wait another 20 years, another 25 years. So what was the action when you said, I want to be president?
Well, it's a shame. I think in 2017, we should really be looking at the issues and not whether it's a female, male, young person, or older person. I think anyone with an agenda, a clear agenda to move any African nation forward should be widely received. When I made my announcement, I gave some time there, and people were, oh my gosh, we already have one woman. But my argument is, it's not, we don't have the time in Africa to play a hypocritical game with ourselves. Liberia is the oldest independent nation on the continent of Africa, 170 years independent. Now, out of the 170 years of independence, 150 years of those 170 years have been ruled by male. And no one has said anything. Oh, one man's rule, another man just coming in. No, it's a combination. No. We've had 2 women in Liberia, 2 females as head of state, Ruth Perry in the 90s and then Madame Sirleaf. So women in leadership is no strange thing for us.
For Liberians, yes. And
also, if you look at the economy across the nation, women have been the backbone of this nation. With the 85% underemployment rate, women are the one who's keeping the society together, financially, economically, I would say. And so to have another woman come into leadership, for me, it's no strange thing. And because women are feeding the country, women are taking care of the country, women are taking care of the children, the household, and even in leadership, we have more women in leadership now today than any other time in history. But the reaction, I don't pay attention to people's reaction. Because I will hear things like, oh, we don't want another female president, another woman president. Listen, Liberia, like I said, is 170 years old. We have absolutely nothing to show for that many years of independence. Nothing. Nigeria, for example, and I'm not trying to knock my country. Nigeria, for example, look at the level of development you have across the board. Of course, you're a much larger economy than we are, but you are doing great things in this country. And there's so much we can learn from Nigeria. Right now in Liberia, for example, Nigerian movies, Nigerian music, Nigerian fashion, Nigerian.
You've taken over.
You've taken over. And we're emulating. We love everything out of Nigeria. But we have got to look at what makes Nigeria successful and try to emulate those things as well. Not just the pleasure part of it.
Yes, the fun part.
The fun part. So for me, as a young person, being the only female, the youngest person in this race, I am just all about the issues pertaining to my people. The lack of education for our young people. We have young people make up the highest population in the country, demographic. Young people are graduating colleges and universities, and the only jobs they can find is to drive pen. Or keke, as you call it here.
Yeah.
And for me, that's an abomination.
But isn't that a story replicated across the board, across the African continent?
It shouldn't be.
It's the same story here in Nigeria as well. A very young population that is the majority that's coming out of universities, out of technical colleges, nothing to do, almost to a point aimless. And as so many people want Africans to believe that the strength of the continent is in the population, but yet the leaders have been unsuccessful in doing anything with that population. So let me just ask one final question. Liberia has done it over and over again. So what can Nigeria learn about involving women in politics from Liberia?
Well, I don't think it's a Nigerian decision to make. I think it's Nigerian women decision to make. Because, when someone asks me, oh, what do the people think about you getting involved in politics? It's not a people's decision. It is my decision to step forward and announce, and say, I'm stepping into this arena. So everyone has a choice to make. And I think in Nigeria, if a woman stand up and say she wants to run for the highest office, and if she's the best qualified candidate, I think she'll be successful. But I haven't seen a woman step up to the plate. Maybe there are a few in the past, and I'm hoping to see more. Like, follow the footsteps of Liberia. Liberian women are some of the most challenging women ever. And I see Nigerian women are the same thing. Just one African woman is the other one.
We make it fun for the men.
Exactly.
All right, it's the bottom of the hour. We need to go for the news. When we come back, what exactly does MacDella Cooper want to offer the Liberian people? What is going to be the pillar of her campaign? And they campaign a little bit differently in Liberia than Nigeria. Just 3 months, very tightly packed to put their message out there for Liberians to make their decisions. And the vote is fastly approaching. And then, of course, we will open up the phone lines. We are streaming live on Facebook. Go to www.facebook.com/Nigeria Info FM. And you can also follow her on Twitter at MacDella Cooper, one word. We will be back right after this.
How much longer?
Onome is still live. That is P Square, No One Like You. And our guest in the studio said between them and Flavor, she just can't make up her mind. But in the studio with us, we have MacDella Cooper. She is a Liberian presidential aspirant